Welcome to Breaking It Down. I'm your host, Geir Baylog. I'm here today with two special guests to talk about the Grayling expansion.
My name is Jim Knight from Bear Lake Township.
My name's Mike McNamara from Grayling Township.
You know, Mike, you were talking about what was happening to your dog. Can you tell us about that?
I have two house, at the time, I've had a number of hunting dogs that were house dogs, hunting dogs, great dogs, some of the most well-behaved dogs a person could ever ask for. Obviously loved. I lost a 17-month-old and an 8-year-old due to kidney failure. The dogs were completely no bloodline relations at all. And come to find out, a young dog had kidney problems and died to the tune of about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And then the female, the 8-year-old, she died of kidney failure. Now, I can't prove, there's no way to prove, without thousands of dollars of autopsy, but what caused the kidney failure. But kidney failure in small animals is a direct relationship. There's a correlation between kidney failure in pets and livestock and PFAS water contamination. I live right behind the Grayling Army Airfield where our wells have been poisoned. And currently there's an $75 to $80 million initiative to bring municipal water to a lot of residents in Grayling because of AFFF firefighting foam over the last 35, 40 years.
And Mike, you brought some pictures with you too, and one of them I seen was a dog, and I didn't know if it was yours or not. Whose dog is that?
These dogs, I won't say the gentleman's name.
Okay.
He was a high school classmate. These are hounds that he hunts with, and here is examples of hounds that were tied up into razor wire that was abandoned because Camp Grayling doesn't have management controls on the issuing and turning in of razor wire. And even if they say they do have some controls today, I still just recently, and actually there's another news reporter out of central Michigan that's going to do a story on the leftover razor wire, and we just found, while we're out hunting, we just found out another several hundred feet of razor wire that was left out in areas. And I will point out that there are some areas underneath the management agreement or the leases that fully prohibit the use of razor wire at all. Not just not left out, because that's bad business practice anyway, but there is prohibited, and is a reason potentially to lose a lease. It's one of the agreements that they've signed. But so what happens is we sign a lease, then we treat the property as ours, and really the guard is just a caretaker custodian of that property. It's the state's land. The guard is the custodian. They should use best management practices. But I think a lot of times environmental, it used to be a reason to lose a job, but today it's not near as exciting as it was before.
What are these other pictures you brought? You got some soldiers in a boat here.
I'll let Jim Knight talk about those because that's in his township.
Yeah, this picture is one of 7 rafts that went down the holy water of the Manistee River in my township. These pictures were taken by the homeowner that witnessed these going down the river. This is during Northern Strike. Now, going back to just what Mike said here, this is what you see here when you're told that we want nothing to do with being near any water, 1,500 feet, buffer zone won't be near any water. Well, here's what that means, is the 1,500-foot buffer. This is what that means. And then when you break a lease agreement by leaving concertina wire, and you see the results of that. And then you have the PFAS contamination. So the pattern is clear. That pattern is that it's misused by the National Guard. It should have been taken care of at the highest levels. These were known things that happened. And yet this is happening in this land that they have leased, that they have under their control right now. And we don't want this happening anywhere else, and we don't even want it happening here because of the misuse. The PFAS contamination that's happened to Mike's dogs is just scratching the surface of what this catastrophe is. And that's what this is, a catastrophe. And we don't want this happening anywhere else. But I gotta say, this picture right here tells 1,000 words of just exactly where we are and what happened in this expansion. This got traction across media outlets across the state and in other magazines nationwide. This very picture right here. These are Ohio National Guardsmen that are going down the river, and Colonel Meyer's response was it was an unauthorized mission. Yet we saw deuce and a halves and several trucks pulling up with these during the day and putting in at sites on the Manistee River. And these are non-training areas. There's areas where they can train, but they decided to do this on the Manistee River and go down this holy water that's considered the holy water, and it's prime real estate where these people have to pay top dollar to have these places there. And yet this is what they see on a Sunday afternoon when they're trying to relax on their patio, is see these people going down the rafts. God knows, we don't know who they are because they're not identified, and with a belt-fed machine gun. Blanks, mind you, but a belt-fed machine gun. So who actually are these people? Is it some militia from some other, or is it the National Guard? Because we don't normally see them in these areas, we don't know. This was very alarming and very disturbing for anyone in my township. And this right here was the deciding factor when so many people got involved when they seen this picture.
And so we've covered a lot. There's a lot more we obviously can cover, and we should have a follow-up. What is the current status of the expansion? You said it went to the DNR, and then what happened with it?
Well, it went to in April of 23. In April of 23, the original 162,000 acres was denied by the DNR. They found out through the legal process or from their attorneys that due to a 1913 law that they could no longer lease property anymore. So they decided to, through a special user permit, at this same meeting it was denied, and an agreement was signed between the DNR and the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs back in April of 23 to give them an additional 52,000 acres that was sporadically around 5 different counties. And we tried getting a very accurate map to find out where they were, and they were very, very secretive of why we couldn't get a more definitive map. In fact, the anglers of the AuSable had to FOIA that in order to do that, and eventually threatened a lawsuit before they could finally get a decent map to find out where this property actually was. So where it is right now is in April of this year, they agreed to a special user permit for the 52,000 acres for 8 guys and 2 vehicles. And in the agreement, it states in there that they are supposed to let everyone know where they're supposed to be. We don't know where they were. All I can tell you is that's where they are, the status now. And I have to say this, that in the summer of 24, over 1 year after that agreement was signed, 1 year from where we're sitting right now at Bear Lake and Bear Lake Township, there were 5 Chinese nationals, spies from the University of Michigan, and they are being charged by our government for being spies. And they were down there and they were here during Northern Strike. And yet we just find out about it in the summer of 24 when it happened in 23, when they were allowed to use this 52,000 acres. My point is this: if you're going to have maneuvers and you're going to have this in the confines of Camp Grayling, why in God's name would you go out of your boundaries where you can have a controlled environment and you can have MPs keeping people out of what you're trying to do in Camp Grayling? My contention is you don't need this public land. Stay within the confines of Camp Grayling, and Camp Grayling is used there for training the soldier, not for the defense contractors to make a profit.
And we do need to follow up on the munitions, and I think we definitely should. So you've created this movement. Kind of what's your final ask, I guess, at this point in time? What are you hoping to gain from kind of keeping this up? You've got your group, you've got a lot of momentum behind you.
Well, I think I'll tell you that I don't want to take any credit for creating a group. I'm just a local guy that has some background with Camp Grayling, who loves Crawford County, who is a diehard Grayling fan. I love the Manistee River, the Asaba River. I'm a big trout fisherman. I bird hunt, and I think that every kid from northern Michigan should have the same opportunities that I've had, and to be able to snowmobile, to run a 3-wheeler, 4-wheeler, to hike, to pick mushrooms. There are horseback enthusiasts that utilize all of the state land. And again, we talk about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I'm all about soldiers training. I'm not about defense contractors making a buck and not having anyone look over their shoulder. I think you asked the question earlier, what's the big draw? Why do they want to come here? In that deep business article, the defense contractors talk about no one looking over our shoulder. We don't have to follow the procedures that we do at normal test centers, at proving grounds and at testing sites. Obviously, just based on these pictures, poor leadership can't control where soldiers are going. Those soldiers probably had the best intentions in the world, and God bless the unit leaders of those soldiers trying to make them have a good AT before they went off to Afghanistan or wherever they're headed. But Camp Grayling leadership can't control what soldiers are doing, and soldiers follow the rules pretty good. They can't keep soldiers from dumping and shooting from public roads in Kalkaska County. So they can't keep soldiers from leaving concertina wire out and leaving it astray for dogs and animals to get into, or humans. So to answer your question, Camp Grayling really needs to tighten up their shot group. That's what we say in the Army. Tighten up the shot group, get it tight, and do things environmentally safe, do things the way they're supposed to be done, and go back to what Camp Grayling is all about: training soldiers and having a well-prepared state guard force and military. And I have no problem with joint stuff between the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Army and Army Guard. But it's not for defense contractors. It's not for Saab to fire 100 test rounds a year. It's not to turn Grayling into a military mall. It's not to follow the Michigan National Guard's strategic plan to bring all this business here, because Camp Grayling is not a test center. It's not a test site. No matter how much we wish it, some people wish it was, it's for soldier training, not about defense contractors.
And I'll just say this on the end of that, is if that's the way leadership treats the land they have now, under the 147,000 acres they have now, why in God's name would we give him any more land? Because that's the way he wants to use, and it's clear what he wants to use, and not even getting into the PFA contamination that the National Guard is responsible for. Why would we give them any more land when this is the way it's used and abused out there? This is the reason why I'm involved, and I don't want that happening in my township, and for that matter in northern Michigan, all across northern Michigan, anywhere. They need to train within the confines.
Now, one more final quick question. Where can people go to get involved or to find out more information?
Jim?
They can go to our Facebook page, Camp Grayling Expansion. It's on Facebook. One of the things that I've done since this, I've secured more resolutions pertaining just to the 52,000 acres, which I have here at this township. I think I have probably about 5 or 6 different resolutions from different areas around here, so I'm pursuing that. But you can go to Camp Grayling Expansion and find out information there. There's a wealth of information there. There's, like Mike said earlier, Martha Doobie put out YouTube videos. Mike, go ahead and say where that is. It's YouTube.
You can go to YouTube and type in Martha Doobie Camp Grayling Expansion, and you should come up with 7 or 8 videos just on what Martha's done herself.
Fantastic videos. Fantastic videos. I hope you guys tune into that. Really, everyone needs to be involved in this. Northern Michigan, unbeknownst to a lot of people, there are people that are trying to take control over northern Michigan, and from militarizing to bringing windmills, solar panels. They want to use our vacant land for their benefit, and it's taking it away from the public.
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for being here, and Mike.
Thanks for having us, and I have one last thing I'd like to say, is 147,000 acres is enough. Enough is enough. This is our land that we share with the National Guard, and we gladly share it because we are patriots, we are citizens, and we want a strong defense. We don't want to have private contractors or 501c3 contractors doing test and experimental weapon stuff in our backyard. And I'll point out, this isn't just a Grayling, Kalkaska, Roscommon thing. I think if some people have their way, you're going to see some unclassified military Navy ships that people want to ferry up from Virginia down the St. Lawrence Seaway and start running them during exercises out in Lake Huron. And there's some leaders in the Guard that think that's a good idea. So if people in Rogers City and Alpena, all the way down to Saginaw and Bay City think they're immune to this, not only are they going to get really hammered and a lot of new stuff with a big air expansion all the way from Selfridge all the way up to Mackinac City, but they're also going to be looking at a lot of military Navy vessels out in Lake Huron potentially that we don't know what they're doing. And again, I believe it's going to be more than just Northern Strike for the 3-week period. I really believe it's going to be for defense contractors using Lake Huron as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm right with Mike on that. That's a very concerning thing. Is electromagnetic warfare is a very serious and effective weapon, and that's today. What is it going to be tomorrow? There are minds in the defense industry that are far greater than what you'd even imagine, developing weapons to protect our country. And there are testing areas, like Mike said, across this country. We are not in a testing area. Who would ever want to be in a testing area? Today it might not be in your area, tomorrow it could be very well into your area. Please get involved with this. Go to our Camp Grayling expansion page, and thank you guys for covering our story.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.